I've then dug into what's happening with Chinese buying, the Chinese government or Chinese nationals buying farmland, and I've got a map, if I can find it, of where they're buying this land, and it's around U.S. military installations. They're buying up land around U.S. military installations, and so when you look at the amount of land that they're buying, it's not all that much. I mean, it's a lot of land, but given as much land as there is, it's like maybe less than 1%. But when you look at it strategically around military installations, it's really concerning, and then when you look at what's happening at those military installations that they have land around, like B-2 stealth bomber training, drone training, and all, it's very, very troubling.
God, it's so strategic where it's all placed.
Yeah, if I can get a hold of that map and show it to you.
It's kind of crazy that the United States has been invaded. And when did that start? With the purchase of farmland?
It's been going on.
For how long? Like when did it? So this is talking about. Son owns 40% of Chinese-owned land in the U.S. He owns over 100,000 acres of land in Valverde County, Texas. Although his two companies, Brazos Highland Properties and Harvest Texas, through his two companies. His purchases in 2016, 2017, his plans to build a wind farm, as well as his purported ties to Chinese military, drew scrutiny in Texas several years after his acquisitions. He ultimately was denied permission to proceed with his wind farm plans. So they own the land, but they won't let him proceed with the wind farm.
Yeah, and they're building a wind farm where it's not very windy. But it does butt up against a strategic military installment.
What a coincidence. This is the best land that was available.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So,
how would that be possible here under logical laws? Because in China, you can't do that. They're smart. You can't just buy their land.
We absolutely cannot buy farmland there.
No, you can't buy their businesses either.
Now, we had a man on talking about this, a farmer, and he said they also own the grain elevator where we sell our grain. The Chinese own that. The Chinese government owns that. So, and I said Chinese government. Chinese own that. Now, is it the government? Is it a government agent? Who owns it? He said it's Chinese owned and controlled. If they decide to stop buying his grain, I said, what happens? He said, well,
fucked.
We're out of business.
Yeah. And then you take that, on top of that, the topsoil crisis in this country.
Yeah.
They've got like 60 more crops left.
Yeah.
Unless they do something radical to change it.
And again, I want to be real careful about how I talk about this, because I'm not trying. Look, we have so many Chinese Americans here that are wonderful people that contribute so much. I don't want to say anything to create any animus against these people or Chinese people in general. So many of these people are trying to get away from the Chinese Communist Party. They're just trying to get away from them. How they're getting out, I don't know. It's a long way and it's expensive, and you don't just wake up in China and say, I think I'll take a vacation. That's not how that works. You got to get a visa, right? You got to get permission to leave. You got family back there. I don't know how they're getting out, but I know that we've got an awful lot coming across our southern border. And when military-aged Chinese men are showing up at the border, and it's mostly in California where they're showing up, and it's an awful lot. You really,
wild.
You really have to wonder. You really do have to wonder.
Did you ever think you'd be in a position where you'd be talking like this?
No.
Because it sounds conspiratorial, right?
It does sound conspiratorial, and I deal with psychological issues, but these are issues that are on people's mind now. They're saying, I'm anxious about this. It bothers me. I feel like my family is under attack here. We don't have the peace of mind that we used to have. We don't have even farmers are saying, this is troubling to us. We don't know what to do about this.
Yeah.
We don't know how to feel about it. We don't know what to say about it. And nobody's talking about this. Well, I'm talking about it.
Well, I'm glad you are. Because if not, we'll be talking about it when it's too late. And we'll be saying, how the fuck did we not see this coming?
And what I want is, I think if people will start talking about it, people will hear us talking about it and say, these aren't crazy conspiracy guys. These are pretty commonsensical guys that are saying, we should just ask the questions. We should be asking, why isn't anybody asking the questions? And we're not the only people asking the questions, but we're certainly have big microphones to be asking the questions with.
It's just a complete failure of corporate media that they're not asking these questions.
Yeah, and that is the entire reason that I did this network, Merritt Street Media. Robin, and I was sitting at our kitchen bar at our house in California, and I was flipping back and forth between different news networks, and I was getting so frustrated. I said, why won't somebody just tell the truth? Why does everything have to be spin? Why didn't somebody just say what's happening and let us do it? The media just won't say it straight. And she was sitting there eating, she didn't even look up. She just said, well, you are the media. And I thought, yeah, well, and she said, you have a bigger audience than those last three combined, so why don't you do something about it? And it really kind of hit me hard, and I thought, why don't I do something about it? I mean,